Today, we're exploring one of the most profound reversals in human understanding: how we've turned reality completely upside down. We've made what's most certain and immediate seem secondary to what's abstract and theoretical. We've convinced ourselves that consciousness, the one thing we know with absolute certainty, emerges from something we can only know through consciousness itself, the brain. But what if we've got this entirely backwards? What if consciousness doesn't emerge from matter, but matter emerges from consciousness? By the end of this episode, I'll guide you through a simple practice to investigate this directly in your own experience, not as a belief system to adopt, but as something you can verify for yourself right now. So let's get into it. There's something profoundly backwards about how we moderns have learned to see reality. We've taken the most intimate, immediate, and certain dimension of our existence, the living world of consciousness, thought, and experience, and made it secondary to something far more abstract and uncertain: the theoretical constructs of materialist science. Think about this carefully. You have been aware, thinking, feeling, and experiencing for your entire life. This inner world of consciousness is the one thing you know with absolute certainty. It's more real to you than your own hand, because even your hand is known only through the mediation of consciousness. Yet somewhere along the way, we convinced ourselves that this most fundamental reality, consciousness itself, is merely what philosophers call an epiphenomenon, like steam rising from more real machinery. But why must we see it this way? Why not reverse the equation entirely? What if, instead of the brain producing consciousness, consciousness expresses itself through the brain? What if the mind is not trapped inside the skull, but rather the brain is a particular crystallization, a visible manifestation of mental activity? This isn't merely playing with words. It represents a fundamental reorientation toward reality that ancient wisdom traditions have long understood. The insight runs deeper than many realize. In this view, mind precedes matter, not in time, but in what philosophers call ontological priority. The material world isn't the fundamental layer from which everything else emerges, but rather a particular expression or unfolding of deeper mental realities. Just as a thought precedes its expression in words, consciousness precedes its expression in neural patterns. This makes intuitive sense when we reflect honestly on our actual experience. We never encounter a brain producing thoughts. We encounter thoughts, and only later, through elaborate theoretical constructions, do we imagine them being produced by brain states. The brain itself is known to us only as an object appearing within consciousness, studied and theorized about by minds. The scientific worldview asks us to imagine ourselves as gods surveying reality from some impossible external, universal vantage point. It presents us with maps of neural networks and chemical cascades as though these represent reality more accurately than our direct lived experience. But this supposedly objective view is itself an exercise in imagination. And imagination, of course, always occurs within the first-person subjectivity that science claims to explain away. No scientist has ever actually stepped outside their own consciousness to observe it from the outside. The brain scans, the neural correlates, the biochemical explanations. All of these are experiences appearing within awareness, interpreted by minds, and communicated through the medium of consciousness. The supposedly objective material world is always and already a world as experienced by consciousness. This isn't to deny the practical utility of neuroscience or to retreat into solipsism. Rather, it's to restore the proper order of things. Consciousness is not something that happens in the world, but rather the world is something that appears in consciousness. The brain serves as a kind of aperture or lens through which the boundless light of awareness focuses itself into particular experiences, thoughts, and perceptions. When we change the brain through meditation, therapy, medication, or other practices, we're not creating consciousness, but rather adjusting the conditions through which consciousness manifests. We're refining the instrument through which the mind plays its symphony in the world of form. A healthier brain becomes a clearer window, a more sensitive receiver, a more faithful translator of the deeper realities that seek expression through us. Now let's investigate this directly. I'm going to guide you through 3 simple inquiries. These aren't intellectual exercises, but invitations to see what has always been present in your own immediate experience. The first investigation. Notice that you are aware of my voice, aware of these words. Can you find the boundary where awareness ends and the words begin? Look closely. Are the words separate from the awareness in which they appear? Or do they arise as modifications of awareness itself? Notice that even your brain is known to you only as a concept appearing in awareness. You've never actually encountered your brain directly, only thoughts about it, images of it, sensations you attribute to it. The brain exists for you only as an appearance in consciousness. Take a moment with this. Really look. Pause this video if you need to. A second investigation. Try to step outside your own experience to observe it objectively. Can you get behind your own awareness to see how it works? Notice that every attempt to observe consciousness lands you right back in consciousness itself. There is no view from nowhere. There is only this knowing presence in which all observations arise. Even when you imagine yourself as a scientist studying the brain, notice that this imagining is happening within your direct, subjective experience. The supposedly objective, material brain is actually a subjective experience of thinking about brains. Again, pause this video if you need to. A final investigation. If you're in a room, look around you now. Notice that everything you see, walls, objects, space itself, is appearing as a modification of your own seeing. The external world is actually the interior world of visual experience. The room is not separate from your seeing of it. If possible, touch something nearby. Feel how the sensation is not located out there in the object or in here in your finger, but exists as the very intimacy of knowing, touching itself. The invitation in each of these inquiries is simple. Look directly at your own experience and see if the modern materialist story matches what you actually find. Let your own immediate knowing be the final authority. In today's exploration, we've questioned one of the fundamental assumptions of our time, that consciousness emerges from matter, rather than matter appearing in consciousness. We've seen how this reversal isn't merely philosophical speculation, but something we can investigate directly in our own immediate experience. The key insight is this. Consciousness isn't something that happens in the world, but rather the world is something that appears in consciousness. The brain becomes not our master, but consciousness expressing itself through a particular form. This recognition doesn't diminish the wonder of neuroscience, but places it in its proper context, as the study of how infinite consciousness appears to limit and express itself through finite forms. Take this investigation with you. Throughout your day, notice that everything you encounter, thoughts, sensations, perceptions, even concepts about brains and matter, appears in the same aware presence that you are. This isn't a belief to adopt, but a reality to recognize. Thanks for listening. Until next time, peace be with you.